down there. Yeah, she's beautiful, Mponen. She's beautiful. She's very fun food. Okay. So hey guys, welcome to another video. This one's kind of been long in the works. Not as in I've been busy with it. Mostly I've been thinking about it. You know. There's some cars again going up and down the street, so I'm gonna cut those out anytime I can. But yeah, so today I wanted to kind of go over my 2.5-year review of this little bad girl over here. Her name is Maya, for those who want to know. But yeah, it's been actually a crazy ride, because I mean, this last 2.5 years flew by so quick. I got her back in March 2021, 16th of March. I still have the photos of the day that I got her and I drove out the dealership with it that same day. I was ecstatic as hell. I was so happy. I was over the moon. So it's been some time and I haven't come and given a detailed overview of what it's been like to own this bike for as long as I have so far. What I want to go over is kind of the little niggles here and there, because Yamaha's a reliable brand, but obviously you will have some problems, well, whether self-inflicted or it's just something that was wrong with the bike itself. One thing that I did come across, this was I think 7 or 8 months after owning it. So this was March to September, October. I think around September, October, I had a little problem with my clutch. Okay, you could possibly attribute that to me doing, wheelie practice. And which probably caused a lot of trauma to the clutch, overloading it, excessive load, because I was practicing my clutch ups at the time. And I'm assuming that's what caused it. But the fact that the clutch that's replaced it now, which was possibly the same components as the older clutch, basically like a 1-to-1. The same clutch that came stock is probably the same clutch they replaced it with. And I've had no problems so far with this one. I don't know if you can either say that's because of I know how to clutch it up better, and because I couldn't clutch it up properly, and that caused the breaking or the snapping of the clutch plates back then. But oh well, that's okay. That's my first niggle that I had. And the second niggle came through when, obviously a dumb idea. I was over at a friend's place, couldn't keep my bike on the street, and the only way I could possibly get the bike into the house, well, not into the house, into the yard, the electric gate, it was a sliding gate at the time, it wasn't working. I'm not sure if it was load shedding, if it was just the gate itself wasn't working that day, but they had a little pedestrian gate, and the gate had stairs. So our bright idea at the time was to just push the bike down the stairs, even gently and all that. So what ended up happening was the bottom oil sump case. It's metal, but it cracked because I hit it on the stairs as I went down. It wasn't even a hard hit, but I noticed as I wanted to go back home that night, it was dripping oil. There was like a little oil puddle on the floor, and I knew that, it was because of the stairs. So I had the bike towed, got it fixed, and other than those couple problems here and there, that was it. So one thing I do want to note is I've gone through the rear tire. I don't know if it's a good amount, going through a rear tire once or twice a year, but I've gone through at least 4 rear tires. I'm supposed to replace this one and go into my 5th one, which I have in store in the garage at the moment, but it's pretty bald at the moment. I think I'll show you. I don't know if I want to show you, but yeah, it's kind of bald at the moment, and that needs replacing. And that's one thing you're gonna experience with a high torque motorcycle, regardless of if it's a lower capacity or if it's a higher capacity like a 1000. I'm looking at the Super Duke and I'm thinking, how the hell are those people not running through their tires faster than I am? Because that bike has an enormous amount of torque. Test rode it once, it was fun. But yeah, So another thing that I wanted to go over is fuel, man. Fuel in South Africa is expensive nowadays, guys. I don't know what's happening. I think around the time I got this bike, this was 2021, fuel was sitting around 16 rand, 17 rand a litre. I don't know how it jumped this much. 22 rand a litre is crazy. And I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon. But at the time, it was manageable. It was manageable. It was way cheaper than what it is now, of course. Which made it easier to go out on more rides more often than what I'm doing now. And what I wanted to say about fuel was it's pretty fuel efficient for what it is, and I think I've said that in the previous video. I get around 250 kilometers a tank. That is with very, very generous riding. Otherwise, if you're balls to the wall, full acceleration, 24/7, street Rossi, all the all the jazz, all the terminology words, then of course you're not going to see as much. So I think when I am riding a bit aggressively, and that's across the entire riding session, like within a day or so, I would finish a tank. I would get around 180 to 190 kilometers per tank. But otherwise, if you're a very sensible person, it should be averaging around 250. That's still empty. That's including reserve, which sometimes I can't really gauge how much I have left in reserve. I think it's because of how variable I ride, but I think you should be fairly safe with around 25 kilometers in reserve if you do get the fuel reserve light to flash on. Like I said in the previous video, I did get the stock exhaust replaced. I think that's a rite of passage for anyone who owns a stock MT-07 or stock MT-09. I think most of the MT range, getting an off-the-market pipe to replace the stock one it's a must-do in my opinion. Because the sound that gets unleashed from this, it sounds so phenomenal. I think I do have some clips from the stock pipe when I had it. I'll just put those up and show you the difference between that one and this one right now. But yeah, sound-wise, it's, I don't want to say anything inappropriate, but I will say it's a blessing to the ears. I get a lot of compliments on how loud it is, the exhaust tone itself. It sounds like like a V configurator, like a V configurated engine, like a V twin of some sorts, like a Harley Davidson bike. Which I get a lot of compliments on. You know, like a lot of people like the way it sounds, especially kids. I've noticed kids really love it. You know, you get little kids waving by here and there. It's a really nice feeling. But yeah, I mean, one small gripe I have, I don't think I mentioned this one in the last video, is the handlebar size. I do feel like the handlebars are a bit narrow for what I like. You do get a bit of shoulder pain, but I don't know if that's something that's based on how big you are or broad you are, something like that, like a body type. So I do feel like if you were a bit shorter than I am, at this point in time, I am 180 centimeters tall. The handlebars don't really feel so good, and I have heard people saying that they replace the handlebars for longer pro taper ones, which I have thought about. You know, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I have thought about it, but I don't think I'll ever come to that point. I'll just keep it stock for what it is. But yeah, going on to talking about, you know, passengers and stuff, I still have the rear foot pegs. I know a lot of people get rid of those for a nice sleeker look, because if you look at it now, it kind of obstructs the way that the bike looks in the back, you know, the swooping tail at the end over there. But I still have them on because I do carry passengers, my siblings sometimes when I take them back from school, some favors here and there for some friends. But yeah, other than that, I will say it has been very solid, very reliable. 2.5 years flew by really quick, I'm not gonna lie. My friend was telling me how he remembers the day that I rocked up to his driveway when I first got it. How pristine it looked, and yeah. Going back into the history of how I got into motorcycling, this was back in 2014, 2015-ish. I took a holiday to see my grandma. She lives in PE, and she had a man over, one of her older friends. He's passed away, rest in peace to him. His name was Uncle Graham. I called him Uncle Graham, but he had a Honda Shadow. I think it was the bigger one, 1000 or if it's 1100. I'm not sure how big the engine size was, but it was a red Honda Shadow. When I saw it in the driveway for the first time, I was so stoked. I was like, I'm so stoked. I want to see how this feels. I want to ride it, all that jazz. He was a big bike fanatic himself. Had leathers, he had like figurines, he had books. He was all the way into it. I think he also grew up with motorcycles when he was a youth. Like back in the 50s, 60s, this man was on bikes and shit, and I was like, damn. So I was impressed. I was impressionable, and he had a lot of stuff that interested me, and that's kind of when the obsession began. So yeah, fast forward to high school, I met these other kids who had motorcycles, like 16-year-olds, obviously, because you can only get a bike at 16 in SA. This kid, his name was Keenan, I remember vividly. He had an older, I think 07, 08 Honda CBR 125. It really impressed me. I think I have a picture of me sitting on it one day that I'll put up right now. But yeah. So yeah, from then, the intrigue increased, and I eventually left that high school in grade 9, and then I went to another one back in grade 10. And that's how this bike came to fruition, or my love for this bike and wanting to get this one in particular. I met a friend, his name is Channing. We kind of both bonded over our love of bikes. His father had a bike. He grew up riding dirt bikes and all that jazz. I didn't, so of course we had that in common, and that's how our friendship came to be at the time. We both fell in love with the MT-07, watching Jake the Garden Snake back in the day, doing crazy stuff, and his F-07 series. It was a lot of fun, not gonna lie. So we drooled over it. There was a kid who was doing, I think, grade 11 or matric at the time when I was in grade 10 with Channing. He eventually came to school one day on the first generation of this bike, and I kid you not, we almost lost our shit when we saw it parked up there in the parking lot, and it just reinforced it. It was like, we have to get it. I remember he had a acro pipe on it, and that thing sounded so glorious when he rode off from school that day. But yeah, that's how I got into wanting one of these, and I was just dead set on getting these, like whenever the time came. But yeah, memories, man, memories. Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy to think it's been 2.5 years already. But yeah, the plan is to keep the bike longer. The plan is to save it for one of the kids. She's recording at the moment. But yeah, we're gonna see what happens. I'm just hoping it stays in the garage for a long time, since I guess it's my first vehicular love, if I can say that. Yeah. So Maya, she's staying for the time being, and I know she's dirty at the moment. Yeah, she needs a good clean. It's been raining for a while. Rode it in the rain. And yeah, that's just my little overview of 2.5 years with this bad girl. So just want to say thanks for watching. If you made it this far, click like, click subscribe, all the buttons, all the jazz, because I think I'm going to be a bit more consistent with uploading content, bike stuff, tech stuff. You know how it goes. But yeah, thanks for watching.